Why saying no feels so wrong. Have you ever decided, I'm not fixing this one? And you really meant it. You said, I'm not rescuing them this time. I'm not going to step in again. And then almost immediately you feel guilty. You know you're doing too much. You know they need to handle it. And you know that stepping in again probably isn't going to solve the bigger problem. But the second you don't help, you feel selfish, mean, cold, like you're abandoning them. And you start bargaining with yourself. Maybe I'll just help this one last time. Maybe this situation is different. Maybe they really do need me. Or you start questioning if you're being too selfish or harsh. And before you know it, you're back in the same old role. Helping, fixing, rescuing, caring, doing the thing you said you were not going to do. If you're connecting to this, then you're in luck, because that's what we're talking about today. Why saying no feels so wrong? Why do you feel guilty when you stop helping? And why that guilt doesn't necessarily mean that something is wrong. Sometimes guilt is just a warning sign. Sometimes guilt is the discomfort of stepping out of a role that you've played for way too long. That is the belief shift that I need you to get your head around. You may think that helping proves that you care, but sometimes helping becomes the way you're avoiding the discomfort of letting someone else struggle. And I know that can sound sharp, so let's slow it down. Because I'm not saying that helping is bad. Helping is not bad. Supporting's not bad. Being generous isn't bad. It's a good thing. And no, caring about someone who's struggling is not bad. The problem is when helping stops being support and starts becoming rescuing. Support is like helping someone carry their responsibility. Rescuing carries it for them. Support says, I care about you and I will walk with you while you face this. And rescuing says, I'll face it for you. Support says, I'll help you think through your options. And rescuing says, I'll make the plan, handle the details, remind you, track it, and panic if you don't follow through. While support just says, I'm here. Rescuing says, I'll take over. And a lot of people get stuck right there because rescue often feels more loving in the moment. It feels active, useful, compassionate. It feels like at least I'm doing something. But sometimes what looks like love on the outside is actually guilt management on the inside. You're not just trying to relieve their discomfort, you're trying to relieve yours. Because watching someone struggle feels awful, especially if you love them, and double especially if you're used to stepping in, or if they have a history of falling apart, blaming you, spiraling, drinking, avoiding, and then making things worse. So that makes it to where when they struggle, your nervous system says, do something, fix it, prevent it, make this feeling stop. And if you don't, you feel guilty. But keep listening, because this is the part that really matters. Guilt is not proof that you're doing something wrong. A lot of times guilt is just like a withdrawal symptom from an old role that you're stuck in. If you've always been the fixer, then saying no is going to feel wrong. If you've always been the responsible one, letting someone else deal with their own consequence is going to feel uncomfortable. Like if you've always been the peacekeeper, allowing discomfort is going to make you feel squirmy. And if you've always been the person who makes everything easier for everyone else, not making it easier is going to feel horrible inside. Not because it is wrong, but because it's unfamiliar. That's a very different thing. A lot of people confuse discomfort with wrongdoing. They think if I feel bad, I must be doing something bad. But that's not always true. Sometimes you feel bad because someone is disappointed. Sometimes you feel bad because someone's uncomfortable, or because the other person is upset that you're not doing what you usually do. You feel bad because you're letting the consequence land where it belongs. Sometimes you feel bad because you're finally not abandoning yourself. That can and will feel strange at first, especially if being useful has become your way of feeling valuable. Like, for example, if you learned early on in life that love meant helping, if you were praised for being mature, responsible, selfless, or low maintenance, if people count on you to hold the things together, then saying no will feel like you're being a bad person. But that bad feeling doesn't mean you're doing something wrong. It can simply mean you're changing a pattern. Let's talk about why it feels so uncomfortable to let someone struggle, because this is the heart of it. A lot of us overhelpers out there, confuse struggle with harm. We see someone frustrated, anxious, embarrassed, disappointment, or even just inconvenienced, and our brain reads that as danger. But not every struggle is damage. Struggle is the price of ownership. If someone forgets something and you always remind them, they don't build the muscle of remembering. If someone avoids responsibility and you always step in, they don't feel the full weight of avoiding it. If they create a problem and you always soften the consequence, they don't connect their choices with the outcome. Now, that doesn't mean you should be cruel. Cruelty would be like saying or thinking, I hope this hurts you. Non-rescuing would be more like, I care about you, but I'm not taking over something that belongs to you. That's the distinction here. And it matters because people who overhelp think that there are only two options. Either number one, we rescue them, or number two, we abandon them. Either we say yes, we're being selfish, or we fix it, or we feel like we don't care. But those are not the only options. There is a middle ground. You can care without carrying. You can support without rescuing, and you can be kind without taking ownership of someone else's consequences. You can say, I love you and I believe you can handle this. You can say, I'll sit with you while you make the call, but I'm not making the call for you. You can say, I care about what happens, but I'm not gonna be more responsible for this than you are. That's not abandonment. That's returning responsibility to the right person. Now here's where this gets even a little harder. When you stop overhelping, the other person is not going to love it. They may say things like, you've changed. You don't care anymore. Or I thought I could count on you. You're being so selfish. You're just going to let this happen. And that is going to hit your guilt button pretty much every time, because when people benefit from your over functioning, they probably will experience you changing as betrayal. That doesn't automatically mean they're manipulating you. Sometimes they're just used to the old arrangement. They're used to you stepping in. They're used to smoothing everything over, fixing it. They're used to you feeling guilty enough to say yes. So when you stop, the whole system is going to react. That reaction doesn't mean you've made the wrong decision. It means the pattern is changing, and patterns, they don't change quietly. Now, here's another really important piece here. Sometimes we keep helping because we're trying to avoid guilt, but every yes that violates your own limits eventually turns into resentment. So you're not always choosing between guilt and feeling good. You're choosing between guilt now and resentment later. Temporary guilt may be the price of breaking an old pattern, but resentment is the price of staying in it. Think about that, because a lot of people say yes to avoid feeling that guilty feeling, but then they spend the next 3 days feeling angry. They say yes because they don't want to disappoint someone, and then they silently resent the person that they're helping. So when you say yes because it feels too hard to let the other person struggle, then they feel used, drained, and unappreciated. That's not kindness. It's self-abandonment with a smile on your face. And eventually that resentment is going to leak out. It comes in your tone, your silence, your irritability, your exhaustion, your emotional distance. And then the relationship starts paying for all the things you agreed to do when your honest answer was no. So the goal is not to become less loving. The goal is to stop confusing love with rescuing. The goal here is to stop letting guilt make every decision. So I want to give you a little filter here. When you feel guilty for not helping, ask yourself, am I the right person to carry this? Does this responsibility actually belong to me? Am I supporting their responsibility or replacing it? Am I saying yes because I want to or because I feel guilty? If I help them, will this help them grow, or will it help them avoid? And one of my favorite questions is this: what would be fair if guilt weren't running this decision? That question can clear up a lot, because guilt is not always a reliable decision maker. Guilt often says, do whatever makes the discomfort stop. But wisdom says, do what actually supports health, responsibility, and respect. Those are not always the same thing. Now, if addiction is part of your situation, this gets even more complicated, because addiction creates a real fear. You may not be just thinking, I feel bad saying no. You may be thinking, what if they drink more? What if they use again? What if they lose their job? What if they fall apart? What if this gets worse? So I really want to be clear here. There are times when you may need to step in for safety. There are times when you need a plan. Times when children, money, housing, transportation, or immediate risk changes the situation. I'm not talking about ignoring danger. I'm talking about a pattern where you repeatedly absorb responsibilities that belong to another adult. And then you wonder why you feel exhausted and resentful. There's a difference between protection and rescue. Protection says, I'm taking care of my safety, my finances, my children, and my well-being. Rescuing says, I'm taking responsibility for making you face your life. You can protect yourself without rescuing them from every consequence. And that's the line. And that line is not always easy to see, so start small. And you don't have to begin with the biggest, most scariest situation. Start by noticing one place where guilt is running the show and making the decision. One place where you say yes, like automatically without even thinking about it. One place like where you step in before they even ask, or where you help but later feel resentful about it, or where you're trying to prevent someone from experiencing discomfort that actually might belong to them. You could think of it like you stole something that belonged to them, and choose a smaller version of help. Instead of taking over, maybe you just say, I can talk this through with you for 20 minutes, but I can't solve it for you. Instead of fixing it, you might say, what's your plan? Instead of rescuing, you might say, I know this is hard and I believe in you and you can handle this. Instead of saying yes immediately, you say, let me think about what I'm actually available for. That last one is really powerful because people who overhelp end up saying yes too fast. They don't give themselves time to check in with what's fair, healthy, or even realistic. So if nothing else, practice pausing. You don't have to answer right away. You can say, I need to think about it, or I'm not sure yet, or I'll let you know. That pause gives you space to decide from a place of wisdom instead of a place of guilt. Now, I know this is all easy for me to say, but it's not easily done, especially if helping has been your role for years, like maybe your whole life. You probably will feel guilty and uncomfortable at first. It's going to feel like you're being selfish or mean or like you're doing something wrong. But remember this, that feeling of guilt does not automatically mean you're guilty. Sometimes it just means you're no longer playing the part everyone expects you to play. And if your yes is creating resentment, it is time to practice a different kind of love. A love that supports without rescuing. A love that cares without carrying everything. That lets the other person face the responsibilities that belong to them. So this week, ask yourself, where am I helping because I truly want to? And where am I helping because I feel too guilty not to? That one question will tell you a lot. And if this video is making you think of someone else who can't stop helping, fixing, or rescuing, share this with them because they might need to hear this. They might need to know that they're not selfish for letting another adult carry their responsibility. You can care deeply without carrying it all. And I'll see you in the next video.